Plot: The Way He Looks, 2014. Heading: Written by Daniel Ribeiro. Leonardo is a blind teenager dealing with an overprotective mother while trying to live a more independent life. To the disappointment of his best friend, Giovanna, he plans to go on an exchange program abroad. When Gabriel, a new student in town, arrives at their classroom, new feelings blossom in Leonardo, making him question his plans. Voiceover off.
When you're blind and watching movies, what will you find? A blind superhero whose superpowers are acting like he's not blind. A sighted actor over dramatically touching people's faces. Or maybe the whole joke is that they're bumping into different places. A spectacular, macular generation. Tunnel vision to your television until they off this movie with audio descriptions. They're movie buffs who know their stuff. You'll be thoroughly entertained. Join Sky and Melissa throughout film history and Citizen White Cane.
Hello.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, and welcome to Citizen White Cane, the podcast where high art meets low vision. My name is Sky.
I want that on a t-shirt. Are you saving these? Please tell me you're saving these. These are
because
fantastic.
I don't want to repeat any, so I have to keep track of that.
That's literally the best one yet.
Oh, hey, thanks.
And I'm Melissa.
And today we are talking about The Way He Looks, which has a name in Portuguese as well.
Yes, this is a film in Portuguese and Portuguese, and it takes place in São Paulo, right? And that's
in São Paulo.
Oh God, forgive me. That's in Brazil,
yes,
right?
Brazil.
Okay, good.
Yes,
okay,
yes.
good. All
right. Because I've been there. Because I apparently have been to all the places that we watch movies. But yeah, it takes place in Sao Paulo, though it's not like super specific to the setting. Like it's not like they're like, we're in Sao Paulo.
Right. It could have taken place anywhere.
Yeah, it really is not even like specifically Brazilian either.
Mm-hmm. This is just a slice it's literally just a slice of life.
Yeah.
Film.
Yeah.
It's just a couple of months in the spending time with these three characters.
Yeah, it is very realistic. Like, I feel like it's played super just grounded, like, entirely.
Oh yeah, no,
yeah,
totally. Everybody is we're dealing with real characters. We're not dealing with archetypes. We are dealing with real people. And I'm telling you, if I question myself multiple times if the actor playing Leo, the main character, if he was actually blind.
I know.
I was like, if he's not blind,
and he isn't,
that's incredible.
Well, it's actually interesting because this movie was originally a short film, which I was like, we should have also watched the short film. But the actors all played the same characters in the short film and in the movie, so the movie is just kind of fleshing out the short film. But there was a 2010 short film, and this movie came out in 2014. So they had like already been with the characters for 4 years by the time they started making the movie.
Oh,
so like
no wonder.
So all of them were like, yeah, we like really felt like kind of like we knew those characters because we had a lot of time to play with them. But yeah, his performance is so good, like being a sighted actor.
It's incredible. I mean, and honestly, everybody in this movie gives brilliant performances, down to the characters that we might only see once or twice.
Yeah, they're really. And I feel like it's also written. I was like reading something, and they were saying that some of it was like what was on the page, like they did, like the actors did more like kind of ad-libbing stuff to make it feel more realistic.
And it kind of felt like that. I mean, I can't necessarily say it felt ad-libbed from the language because I'm reading subtitles, right. But in just how the way they moved and the way they way they positioned themselves, the way they were in scenes. It's interesting because that proves that like so much of acting comes from, so much of your performance comes from your body and comes from just how you live in and interact with other characters in a scene. Because in physical wise, it felt very improv, ad-libbed, not nonchalant isn't the right word, but just lived in, I guess.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think that you really bought all the characters, and they're all pretty young. I was looking, the actor who plays Leonardo, what is his name?
His name is Guillermo Lobo.
Right. And he was born in 95, so he's the same age as my sister. In 2014 he would have been, I guess, 19.
Oh wow.
So
he looks young for 19.
Yeah.
I would have said, like, I don't know, 17, 16 maybe.
They do really look like high school students, because especially, I mean, maybe it's just an American thing, but like Beasley, they did not look like they were in high school.
We're so used to seeing like 30-year-old. I mean, it goes back to like friggin' Grease, you know. We're so used to seeing 30-year-olds play high school students. It's like these fully formed adults and we're just like, okay, whatever.
I guess they're in high school.
I guess they're in high school. Yeah.
Yeah, this was not, they did really look like they were in high school.
Yes,
like
absolutely.
You really fought it. I think that's part of it too, is it just felt like very realistic on a lot of different levels, because, well, and also you have like the main character who is a blind teenager who's gay. Yeah, I mean, feel like a lot of those things, you have actors that are not necessarily going to know how to play any of that.
I mean, so, and I guess that's why it's called acting. You know, you don't necessarily have to, you know, you are embodying someone else.
Right. So
you might not be those things, but the character you're playing is.
Yeah, and I couldn't figure out if the actor, I cannot say his first name.
Guillermo.
If he was gay. I know that the director is.
Oh, that's cool. Okay.
So it is kind of from a queer perspective, though I don't think as much from a disabled perspective in the production wise. But you still, like, you can't tell. Like, it does feel like.
Yeah. Well, it's also what I found really refreshing, and not that I don't think that stories of coming out are important, because they are, absolutely. Yeah. But what I found really refreshing was that's not what this story was about. And the story also wasn't necessarily about his blindness either. It's about a relationship, and he's gay, and everybody's just like, okay, like his parents are. Now, granted, we don't get to see, like, you know, the fallout of all of this. I don't think his parents know about this particular relationship yet, but you know, we just get to see the relationship bloom. And some of the high school kids are assholes, but in the end he is accepted by the people that matter. They are accepted by the people who matter.
Yeah, and I think that like, yeah, it's definitely when you have a teenagers and you have both like disability and queerness, both things that are genuinely hard to be in high school, like making it feel like not like both a hostile environment in ways, but then also pretty, like, overall pretty safe. But given that you're still coming up against all the real things, like, not safe in a way that it doesn't feel real. Like, so I think that was just really nice, because I think sometimes even when you're like, you know, like, I mean, I guess because we just saw Beasley, and like the fact that you had a character that, like, you were like, why it's not that he didn't want to be blind, like, where did that come from? Like, you know, there was a sense of like the author's ideas about what like a disabled person wants, or like how their life are going to come through in a way that's like problematic. But I feel like this was very
it's not
careful.
Leonardo is a queer guy, or a gay guy that just happens to be blind, and this movie is not about him having to come to terms with that. And there's a little bit of that, but that's not the overarching storyline. But it's just an aspect of his character, and it was amazing just to see most people, you know, you have to have like the bully or whatever, but people who are so accepting, and just this is just a normal way that this person lives his life. Now, granted, you had a little bit of the helicopter parents from his mom and his dad,
right? And also like the societal. I feel like, I mean, and we should get into some of the plot points, but I do feel like this is like. It felt like the way that the blindness was used also felt very genuine, and it felt like it wasn't it wasn't like abandoning his blindness at times where it felt convenient. It felt like it was actually also like, I feel like the blind aspects of his character were weaved into other plot points, like, you know, so it kind of made it feel like you couldn't have, this story couldn't be about and not a sighted person, which I really love, because it's like, it's not fun if you could just make the character sighted and like most of the same beats would happen, like, because they really play with like how blindness, there's like an inherent intimacy with like the like, you know, leading people and like the different ways in which you might not perceive someone, like even if you have like a crush on someone and like not being able to see them, so that you are not always getting the full picture of what's going on,
right?
And, like,
but
so much of the plot relied on him being blind to like work,
right? And it was incredible to see. It just it felt really natural with Leonardo falling in love or falling for Gabrielle. Yeah, exactly, because of all the touching. And you know, for Gabrielle, first it could feel, you know, normal. This is what, you know, because he's seeing how Gigi treats Leo, and you know, guiding him around, and
because his friend is, in the beginning of the movie we just have Leonardo and Gigi, not Gigi,
G. I know, I always say Gigi and she hates Gigi. Yeah,
right,
G.
right.
Giovanna. Sorry,
Giovanna. I know it's confusing also that there's two G names. We were talking about this before we started recording, but we start the movie before Gabrielle. It still sounds like a feminine name, so I always
I know.
Myself.
Think of like Gabriel, but no, it's Gabrielle. That's Gabrielle. How it's pronounced. Yeah.
Yeah. It because Giovanni is also a male name, so it's really getting in my head.
I said it wrong. I said her name wrong. So her character's name is Giovanna. There's an A at the end.
Let's call her G, because that's at least I'm not going to get them mixed up.
Well, her actual name is Tess Aromine. Is the actress's name, and then the actor's name who plays Gabrielle is Fabio Audi. So
there you go.
Yeah,
I'll just rely on you, especially with the last names. But yeah, so at the beginning of the movie we meet Leo and G, and just kind of like we're seeing their friendship, and as in high school, like they kind of definitely have an us against the world relationship of just being like, you know, she does everything, you know, that Leo needs because of his blindness, like kind of somewhat of a guide, but then they also, you know, are just kind of like normal high school best friend kind of relationship.
It's so nice to see them as platonic friends. They're just, you know, it's a guy and a girl, they're just platonic friends. It's also interesting to watch this as an American, because in our culture, especially between two friends, we're not so much touchy-feely. We're not so much encouraged to be touchy-feely. I mean, you know, people who are friends in Latin American culture, in Europe, you know, wherever, like two friends can walk down the street and hold each other's hands because they're friends.
Do you feel like, though, that's something, that expectation is later on? Because I feel like in high school I was always like that with friends. Was that not normal? I don't know.
No, I mean, maybe it just wasn't normal for me. I'm just not a very touchy-feely person. But like being able to go and when they would hang out and Leo would put his head in G's lap.
Oh yeah, that is a thing I would do with friends.
I would never do that with a friend.
Really? Yeah, I mean, I think, I wonder if it does come down to like the personal boundaries then, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I'm cool. You know, I'm getting better about like, you know, sitting on a couch and like cuddling, you know, with people. But
right. Well, and it's fair to have different boundaries. There's nothing wrong with that.
But it was just kind of nice and interesting to see. They're very intimate. I mean, but you know, and as a person, as a blind person who perceives touch as a very intimate act, you know, they were just very comfortable with each other. Yeah.
And also because like Leo's getting kind of bullied at school. I mean, definitely kind of not really kind of bullied. He's being bullied
definitely getting bullied. Yeah.
And by like this group of kids, that's the two main ones,
led by Fabio.
Right, because they're named after the actors. But yeah, so they like are making fun of him the first time we meet the bully characters. They're in class, and Leo's typing on a Braille keyboard, which weren't we talking about in Daredevil how quiet the keyboard was?
Yeah, that is a good old-fashioned Perkins Brailler. That thing weighs about 5 pounds, and it's annoying as fuck. And that's exactly. I never had to use one in class, or at least while class was in session. But yeah, that's a good old fashioned Perkins Brailler.
Yeah, so it's like very loud, and then he gets the bullies are like, we can't focus because of how loud his typewriter is, and then don't they like say something even meaner after that? I'm trying to remember. But Fabio gets the bully gets sent to the principal's office for being a dick. Oh, well, that he wasn't gonna move to like sit because there's an empty seat behind Leo, and so he wasn't gonna move to sit in the empty seat because of the typewriter. It's not it's a Brailler. That's the correct term.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Brailler's the correct term. Yeah.
Thank you. So then because of that, he gets sent to the principal's office, and right after he leaves, that's when we meet Gabrielle, who comes in and is like, "Oh, is that seat taken?" Because he's a new student at the school, and then the other bullies laugh because it's like, oh, haha, he doesn't know about the typewriter. But he sits there, so he's sitting behind Leo in the class, and then we have G sits next to him, so it's kind of like this
little triangle,
exactly,
of friends, and this,
and a real triangle because at first G likes Gabrielle as well. And maybe Leo, it's not very clear, at the beginning, but it's...
Yeah, I think she could. I think G could like Leo, but I felt like she was always kind of feeling a little bit more for Gabrielle, and that's what made Leo a little bit jealous because he kind of has a thing for G. A little bit before he realizes he has more of a thing for Gabrielle.
Oh, is that...
But I could totally be interpreting it wrong.
Oh, see, I read it the other way. That, like, maybe she had a little bit of a thing for Leo, but that Leo did not have a thing for G.
I mean, he doesn't have a huge thing for G because he definitely gets more upset when he finds out that Gabrielle might be with Katerina.
Right. And that's like, well, I think also because she is more outside of there, because I feel like it's interesting in that love triangle. I feel like Leo's never really that mad at G about the romance stuff, because I feel like
but G is put out by Leo,
right? It's
definitely
the opposite. Yeah, but I feel like because there isn't a lot going on between G and Gabrielle that feels romantic, and so I don't think Leo has as much jealousy.
Then maybe I was interpreting something wrong.
I don't know. Yeah. I mean, it is hard. Okay, so how did you deal with the subtitles? Because I did a very weird workaround that was very awkward.
Oh, and I would like to hear about that because I want to know. So I watched it on my tablet so that I could have it 3 inches away from my face. Okay. And I didn't have to pause almost at all, or as much as I thought I would, because nobody is speaking in like large paragraphs. It's short sentences.
Yeah.
The mother and the father, I think, say the fastest, and that's only a couple of times. So I was able to get most of everything. Unlike a movie in English, I definitely can't like parrot the dialogue back to you.
Right. Do you feel like you saw less of it because of that?
I do, a little bit less. I remember like major plot points, and I remember things that happened, and I remember looking away at the subtitles because I'm like, I would rather see what's going on than necessarily understand.
What I figured out was there is a way to make voiceover read the subtitles, but it's very bad, and it took me 5 hours to figure out. My God. And it also doesn't really work, and I'm really mad at Apple because that's just like an obvious thing that they could have just made easy. Like, there's no reason for this to be hard. But like it was so complicated, and I'm trying to remember exactly how I did it, but I did get it so that if I set voiceover, if I turned voiceover on, there was like a way to Oh God, I really went through like 100 different settings. So to remember exactly what I did to make it work, I can't fully remember because I was like, oh, I'm going to tell Melissa. And then I was like, oh, this was so hard. And also I don't even know exactly how I made it work and it doesn't really work. And so then I couldn't. So I was like, okay, this is going to be less fun to talk about because it's sad that it's so hard. But it did, what the weird thing was, is I could get it to be one key, except for it was two keys because I had to hold down one key and press another key to get it to read. But it was like I would always need to go back to like the big. There was like I would have to go back and forth between like it would say like you're watching the way he looks like window and then it would go to the text. And actually I did eventually figure out how I could do it with just one click of a button, but if I ever pressed that button when the subtitle was not on screen, then it would get all fucked up and I'd have to pause and I'd have to like go back and do a whole thing to like make it work again.
Well,
I'm wondering, very bad.
I'm wondering if I would have rented this from iTunes because that's possible. Like, we watched it through the library, but
I don't think, well, it doesn't have any.
Oh, it doesn't have audio description. Oh, yeah.
No. Yeah, it doesn't have any audio descriptions available. And really, Apple should make it easier to read subtitles. Like, no blind person doesn't want to be able to read a subtitle. Like, that should be, like, it's closed captions, so I get that, like, maybe they're thinking, oh, well, like, a blind person isn't a deaf person. But, like, again, what if you're, like, deaf blind and you can't read the subtitles very well, but you might not hear everything unless it's super loud. Like, so if a character's like saying something quiet, but also closed captions get used for subtitles because you can usually make them bigger. So like, of course, a blind person might need closed captions to be read to them. It makes no sense to me why that's not a feature, but maybe it is. If anyone listening knows how to like do it legit and not like a really stupid workaround that took me 5 hours to figure out, like, please let us know. Please. That would like change our lives.
Yes, because I mean, I would watch so many movies. Yes, so many more foreign films.
I know.
I'm super glad you picked this out. I'm super glad that I know that this is in the world. You know, it's just a gorgeous, humble, amazing little film. It's just so wonderful.
Yeah, it was like, this has been, since these get released like a few weeks after they come out, this has been like the first week of the protests going on and like, you know, fears about the virus spreading, plus obviously like horrible injustices, and there's like tear gas at downtown Portland every night and curfews. So just having this to watch in the middle of all of that has been so
nice.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, like, this is also the first week of Pride Month. I mean, you couldn't pick this at a better time.
But it's
I know.
We also released Butterflies Are Free today, and that was
nice.
for my mom, which we recorded the week of Mother's Day. So we just really are bad at, like, we're very good at recording these at a good time, but not so good at releasing them at a good time.
Hopefully you hear it in June, and if you do hear it in June, happy Pride.
Yeah. Actually, you will, because it's just still the beginning of June, and we're 3 weeks behind. So yes, it will still be Pride Month. Yes, good. See? Purposeful. But yeah, so what were we talking about?
So we meet Gabriel. He comes to the classroom, and the kids are given an assignment about Greece, and they're going to be paired off, and obviously G and Leo make plans to work together. But the assignment is it's about ancient Greece. The girls all have to learn about Athens, and the boys all have to learn about Sparta.
Just such a
It's so stupid. It is literally a plot device so that these two have to spend time with each other. And you know what? I'm okay with that.
I mean, school does dumb stuff like that. Like, they could have made it like, oh, we don't want, like, you know, relationships, because there's a lot of stupid stuff that people say. I mean, not to mention the gender, obviously, is not binary, but whatever. But yeah, it is definitely a plot device, but it is you kind of need that. Yeah, you couldn't do the movie without it.
Yeah, I was okay with it.
Yeah.
I'll believe this. Okay.
I did too, and it makes sense because obviously they would be partners. So, like G and Leo. But
right.
So Gabrielle, we just met him, so that's when he partners up with Leo, and he kind of like is like a little bit flirty because I got to like I was so happy when I did figure out how to read the subtitles because I got to actually watch characters, and I was like, yes, oh my god, this is so exciting. So I got to like watch how they were looking and stuff. So I'll be like I'll let you know about that.
Oh, good, good. Yes, please.
I was so excited. But he is just like, he's already like a little bit like, oh, you're cute, I think. But well, I mean, Gabrielle too.
Yeah, I mean, not gonna lie, Gabrielle is cute.
I think they're both cute.
Mm-hmm. They're both really cute, sweet guys.
I know. Oh my god.
And they get together, and it's like, oh.
It's the first time I've like thought I should watch our movie for self-care again. Like I've yet to think that at all. So
yes. No. This is definitely one that I can like throw on when I'm feeling shitty, or even just like put on in the background when I like to put movies on when I'm drawing.
That's a lot. Good. I wish that the subtitle thing didn't have to be like pressing a button over and over again. But
hopefully it'll get to a point where you don't necessarily need the subtitles. Like I can watch Spirited Away in Japanese because I have watched it so many times. I don't need to know what they're saying anymore.
That sometimes will happen too with movies, but then I'm like, yeah, if I have it memorized, I guess then it's okay. But yeah, we should just record a whole track. Just reading the subtitles so we can have it.
Sure.
I know. I keep thinking every time we talk about subtitle movies, like in general, it's just like, what if we just record one? But then I'm like, but then we still have to read all of the subtitles of the movie, so it's kind of defeats the whole purpose. But yeah, so that's how we get the two. We get Leo and Gabrielle partnering up, and we have G and who is her partner?
Larissa. Because they're always we never see her, and they're always talking about how G and Larissa are at the library, and Larissa never studies, and G
is like super over being
Larissa's partner.
Yeah, because she doesn't. I think she would be happy being like Leo or Gabrielle's partner, but not with another girl, so she's like real bitter about it the whole time.
No, super bitter because they start spending all this time together, and they have lunch together, and then Gabrielle just decides, let's go to a movie.
Yeah,
and
it's just so cute.
It's so cute, and Leo is really kind of apprehensive.
He's like, I can't see movies.
Yeah, that, and besides hanging out with G, Leo doesn't do very much. He's not necessarily, I wouldn't call him like a social outcast, but he's on the fringe.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is he's kind of like, and it's situational, and we kind of, even before we really get into Gabrielle being there, like, we find out that Leo wants to do a study abroad because he is, like, basically because he's getting bullied. He doesn't, like, G is his only friend, and his parents are really overprotective, so he also definitely wants to have more independence, and so doing something like that could potentially facilitate that. But also because his parents are so overbearing, he knows that they would never be okay with it, so he's also like not sure how to even bring it up, because they're like, they won't even sign his paper to like go on a trip for the school, or at least does he just assume they won't sign the paper, or that like,
I think so, because he goes on the trip,
right? He does go on the trip at the end.
He ends up going on the trip,
but like, yeah, I can't remember if it's that they are apprehensive and want to talk to him about it before they sign, or if he just doesn't want to bring it up because he knows they're gonna have to have a conversation about it. I don't remember exactly, but they're very overbearing and thinks that he can't really totally handle himself on his own. But I guess this is kind of a common theme in all the movies we watch.
Well, it's a common theme in life.
It's true. Yeah.
I mean, this is one of the other things I loved about this movie is it is so relatable. I mean, for me,
relatable.
Even down to the foreign exchange trip.
Yeah, I wanted that so bad when I was younger.
I had to beg my parents to let me go. And even then, they had a meeting. There was a parents' meeting at my school with the Spanish teachers for all of the parents that wanted their kids to go. So there was that, and then I think they talked separately with my Spanish teachers, and then when we each wrote letters to get our host families,
Oh yeah, because that's part of the movie too.
And when I wrote my letter, obviously I had to tell them that I'm blind. So you have to disclose that, and you are, fingers crossed, that there is a family that will take you on.
Right, because that was one of the things, and I had I never like went through a process of doing that. I just wanted to not be there. But she says like that, because the agent is very sweet, like the person who's in charge of doing it, she's very sweet and like trying to, she's like kind of one of those people where you deal with, where you're like, oh, you're like, you actually are trying to take this on. Like, you're like, oh, this should be a thing. I don't know if it is, but I'm going to figure it out. and which is always really nice, because it's either that or someone who's just like really just very dismissive, or, dismiss, like saying you can't do stuff. So I like that she was creating conflict, but still being a very like kind person. But she was like, if the biggest problem would be like finding a host, she was like, yeah, there is one where they said that they could accept blind people, I think, but it was like she was like, we would have to make sure that we could get a host family that would agree to do this with you, which that is a fascinating thing. So did you go?
Oh yeah. Oh, I went. Yeah, absolutely. I got a letter back from Carolina and her family, and they were my host family, and they were totally cool with it. And by this time, I was using a cane, and nice. It was fine. Yeah. I don't ever remember my blindness being like a barrier to entry with them. But also, they knew it. Like, they knew I was coming, right. And they knew I was blind.
So is it like, were you not part of the process of like you weren't sending it just to random people? Like, was someone else who like had a letter of yours and was trying to find someone who wanted to take you in, basically?
You would write your letter and your application and everything, and then I gave it to my Spanish teacher, and then because the program is all run through a sister school in San Jose, Costa Rica.
Okay.
And so they had families that wanted to do this at the school, and I'm assuming, because I didn't know what happened to my letter after I gave it away until I got the news that yes, there was a family that would host me.
Right. So you would only really know if literally no one would. But if
Correct.
like most people were not, then you still wouldn't find that out. As long as one family was willing, you would never find out if all the other ones were not.
Yeah. But I was also the only disabled person on the trip.
Right. Do you think that was probably because of like just sheer statistics or of your school, or was that because of like no other disabled kid was gonna bother trying?
I mean, in my school, yes to both. Yes, because one of the qualifiers to go on the trip is you had to have at least 2 years of Spanish. You had to have at least 2 years of Spanish, and you had to have good grades in it. You couldn't get D's and go on the trip. So you had to have good grades. You were more qualified if you'd been taking Spanish since like middle school, which I had been. Right. So you had to have that. You had to have good grades, and so this wasn't just, hey, sign up and let's go to Costa Rica. This was a trip. This was done through the Spanish department.
Right, but because he wants to go to LA in the movie.
Right. Oh, so yeah, it's the whole reason I even said all that is. None of my other disabled friends, the 5 of us that were there, I was the only one that knew Spanish.
Oh my gosh.
So it wouldn't even cross their minds to go.
It.
Yeah,
right,
to do
right,
it because I knew Spanish. So
right, so that kind of like, so it's hard to say exactly how much would have been because of the disability thing. But but he, like, it's not even from a language class. It's just like a general idea of what he wants to do. Yeah. But it's not. But I guess he must have like known enough English to be qualified to go to one in LA. Which I'm like, why would you want to go to LA? It's a horrible place to be a blind person. It's like really a bad place to be a blind person. It seems like, I mean, I've been to Sao Paulo and I grew up in the LA area, and I feel like Sao Paulo would probably be a little bit easier to exist in than LA was. Not an easy place, but yeah, so but he still wants to go and kind of get the sense, and like, I don't know, watching the beginning of the movie, you're like, yeah, I get it. Like, he has one friend who he's close to, but like, he's getting bullied, like, because of his eyesight. It's like really kind of just like, it's shitty, and it feels like he doesn't have a lot of ability to like make friends for no fault of his own, and he seems like a smart kid. Like, he seems like a very like relatable person that, like, the fact that he is gonna just have these barriers that have nothing to do with, like, he can't be not blind, like, so, like, and he's getting bullied for being blind, like,
so maybe, you know, he wants an escape, he wants somewhere to go to. He even talks about, like, having a new identity. You know, you can be a new person, you can be a new personality. And, you know, G comes back with, like, well, but your personality's fine,
right? And she is upset with him, and we see, like, even in The Office, which I love, when, and this is something that comes up in C actually a lot, but, like, the fact that we see her face and how, like, anguished she is when they're in the meeting with the person for the trip, and the person, the woman who's at the office, like, is kind of can tell this is another visual thing that I could tell because I was reading the subtitles, but so, like, G just looks really upset near that scene, and
because I completely missed out on this. So yeah,
and it lingers on her face too, so it is, like, it's definitely purposeful, and she looks really upset, and you kind of, like, you don't, like, I honestly was, like, a little bit unsure why at that point, but, like, as it goes on, we realize it's because she feels like he wants to be away from her, and doesn't mention anything about her being, missing her.
I absolutely can understand where she is coming from. She feels insulted and upset. Right. Like, he would just throw her away for some, for America, just to get the fuck out. Like, does their friendship mean nothing? I'm assuming, because of how they act with each other, they've probably been friends since elementary school.
Right.
They literally grew up together.
Well, and it does feel like she is the reason that he would be staying there. Like, there's not really any other good reason at that point for him to stay in Sao Paulo. So it does also make sense that she takes it personally, since she's like the good thing in his life. Yeah. And so if you're the good thing in someone's life and they want to leave, then you're like, oh, so I'm not enough of a good thing. Like, or am I just not a good thing? Because, like, apparently you have no reason to be here. So, like, it does totally make sense that she would be upset. But she doesn't, like, mention it to him because, because I think it's more like she's like, who am I? Like, kind of, it's one of those things you're questioning your own, like, value in the eyes of someone else, and don't feel as comfortable, because it's, like, kind of like avoiding rejection. This movie's a lot about avoiding rejection. That's kind of, like, the entire movie.
Well, I mean, rejection, as someone who gets rejection on the regular, rejection sucks.
Yeah.
It makes you feel like everything, all the hard work that you've done, everything that you've tried to do in your life is taken away in 1 second. It means nothing.
Right. And it also, like, you feel like it reflects on you somehow.
Yeah.
And that, I feel like, is definitely something, especially with his blindness, but it is kind of something that all the main three characters deal with for most of the movie, is, like, wanting something and being afraid to come out and ask for it for fear of rejection. That's really all three of the characters. That's the whole movie. But yeah, so we have, so that's kind of their relationship and then we get to the point where we were talking about before, soon after that, where they're doing the project, and Gabrielle takes Leo to the movie. We can go back to that scene.
Yeah, it's so cute. I love it. Because, I mean, it's like when you're blind, almost everything sometimes can feel like a really intimate act. I mean, they're sitting in a dark room. It's a very empty theater except for a few people. Obviously Leo can't see what's happening on the screen, so Gabrielle has to narrate the movie. Yeah. Basically, and it's just really cute. And it's
like a horror movie, so they're like, which, I mean, technically, as much as they stress me out, they are, like, a very accessible thing, because it's mostly sounds that make horror movies. Yes. But he's, like, describing all the different things in the scene, and they get yelled at, but it's just, like, so cute, because it's at the very beginning of their relationship.
Yeah, so it's just a super cute little scene, because like they're not quite in a relationship,
right? It's yet, like their first kind of like date, and it's like very like kind of like flirty at the very beginning of a relationship, and it's just like, I don't know, growing up in LA, that was like, movies are courtship. It's That's all you got.
No, I love it. I love that. I love that. I mean, I've had my fair, I've had my fair share of dates at the movies, and the most fun I had at the movies though was when a dear friend and I went to see the opera, because it's live streamed into the movie theaters. In a lot of movie theaters around the country, in the before times, the opera was live streamed from like the Met, and you could go and see it, and they had subtitles. So my friend and I sat in the front, near the front, and I just bent over, or I leaned over. I did exactly what Gabrielle and Leo did, and she just whispered the entire movie in my ear. Yeah,
well, because then they, like, they're unlike us this week. It's not subtitled, so they don't actually even have to, like, translate. But it is, like, explaining what's on the screen. Yeah, just, it's, I don't know. It was very fun. I like that a lot. I don't know. The beginning where they're kind of, like, they're starting to date and everything is, like, very specific to his blindness, but it's, like, kind of how being blind, like, it's just so much about, like, how blindness and intimacy can happen, and I feel like you just do not,
but it isn't,
can't always get that kind of thing.
Yes, and it isn't even a date. Like, this is just a relationship that is happening, but nobody specifically says yet, I like you, we're going on dates.
Right, right. It's like that beginning phase of relationship where you're not sure what the other person thinks of you, and, like, they want to spend time with you, but it's also, like, very uncertain, like, because you really don't know if it's just, like, that's how they are with everyone or something. And so a lot of the movie kind of takes place in that space of, like, not being sure if someone likes you back on both of the characters, on, like, Leo and Gabrielle are going through that. But then after they go to the movie, she's mad because she's like,
well, you didn't invite me.
Yeah.
Why didn't you ask me to come?
Which I get that. I mean, I think that, like, especially because she still has a crush on, like, Gabrielle at that point. So it's very, like, she's just like, and she has to do an assignment at the library, so not as fun.
She's always stuck at the library. Yeah.
And she's like, and he's like, well, you've never asked me to see a movie before, because she was like, you can't even see it. Why do you see it? And then she's like, well, yeah, because, like, you can't see, so I didn't think you would want to go. And it's like, yeah, well, that makes sense.
That totally makes sense. But then I'm just like, that's also so ridiculous that, like, the blind people don't enjoy, totally blind people don't enjoy movies, or even partially blind people don't enjoy movies. That is so not true.
It's definitely not true. It is funny because I was like, they should just get audio descriptions, but it's like, but I don't know how accessible those places. I mean, you can barely get them in the US, so I don't know. It might be even worse in other countries to get audio descriptions. But yeah, it is definitely. I wonder if, like, they also knew each other for so long that it was just like
they didn't need to.
Well, because I think part of it is, like, you're seeing the difference between, like, Xi is so comfortable with what, like, blindness entails and how that's going to affect Leo's life, and can very easily understand how different situations might be, you know, more challenging, or how his blindness is going to affect his ability to interact in a certain situation. Whereas Gabrielle makes all these mistakes, and because they see a movie, because he's just like, oh,
let's go see a movie. Yeah. And then he's walking him home, and he doesn't tell him that there's a step.
Right.
And Leo trips. I'm like,
after Butterflies Are Free, I was like, yes, someone did it. If someone's sight guiding for the first time, they're probably going to do something dumb. And he is less flighty than Goldie Hawn.
Yes. So. Oh my God. I'd never let Goldie Hawn's character sight guide me. Are you kidding? I would be terrified. The fact that he did
not just, like, get hospitalized is still, I mean, we should have given that movie a little bit of a lower rating just for that one thing.
This movie has some amazing sight guiding. They're totally doing it right.
Yeah, totally realistically sight guiding. Oh, yeah, which I love that. And then he like is using the cane for a bit, but we see that Gabrielle gets better at sight guiding, because, like, I think he starts using the cane in that scene when he trips, but then like later on we see him, like, not using the cane with Gabrielle,
because it's trust. Because he's learning to trust him,
and he's learning how blindness works. It's kind of like, it's like getting to know someone at the beginning of a relationship, and it's like, and I think that's why it's so fun because it's like getting to know a blind person. Part of it is just getting to know blindness and like the fact, and I mean it is kind of like Butterflies Are Food, and it's a similar kind of thing of like watching that a relationship start with the getting to know you is partly getting to know how blindness works, but I just love that. It's so fun because it makes it so relatable in a way that you wouldn't find another kind of movie that's relatable in that way, because obviously sighted characters are not needing to do any of that, like, and so getting to see that, it does make you feel seen in a way that you don't normally get. So it's just so nice, and it's a nice way, because like, you know, I think a lot of movies, to create conflict, it's like blindness makes it hard to do this and this, and you're like, okay, well, like, yeah, even if I can relate to this, it's hard to watch blindness, that for too long.
Okay, I mean, I can't say that blindness doesn't make it hard to do certain things, because blindness does.
Right.
But there are ways of adapting.
Yeah.
There are ways of getting around it. There are ways to live your life, you know,
and then
to
it
live
needs
a full
to start
and complete
with,
life as a blind person.
It needs to like start with acceptance of that, and that like just watching someone struggle because the world is not made for blind people, like, you can have that, but it is kind of fun to see the flip side of that, to see like the fun thing of like having a new relationship and someone who's really willing to get to know you and like them, and watching them get better at it, because it also just like, it's a kind of another way, you know, like when you start a new relationship and you're like, if you notice the person notices a lot about you, like, you know, even before the relationship's actually started, but like that they're very aware of your things and what you need and stuff, like
and when you're totally blind, the start of a relationship is not based on looks.
Yeah.
You know, Leo can't tell that Gabriel is incredibly handsome. Leo didn't fall for Gabriel because he was incredibly handsome.
Right.
I mean, granted, they were thrown together by circumstances. You know, they were made to spend a lot of time with each other. But I think he fell in love with Gabriel because Gabriel was the first person who didn't treat him fragilely, like a person who couldn't do things or who couldn't experience new things. And I'm not saying his parents are bad parents. I don't think his bad parents are bad parents at all. I think they're loving, beautiful, kind, understanding parents. But
they're not giving him enough space. No, they're too overprotective.
They're not letting him try new things. I mean, and I think that might be best illustrated in the scene where they're studying together and they're talking about classical music. And Leo loves classical music. Nothing wrong with that. I love classical music. It's great. But, you know, you could say there's a lot of order in some classical music. Definitely not all classical music, but there's, you know, there's a sense of safety. It's something you can understand. And so Leo likes, and granted, I'm just interpreting the scene. Like, I can't remember the exact dialogue, but Leo loves classical music. And Gabrielle is like, oh, yeah, okay, well, yeah, you know, that's so boring. Let's listen to this. And he plays Belle and Sebastian.
I was like, oh, I'm Gabrielle. Oh, my God. Gabriel. Because that is,
I love Belle and Sebastian.
That is like new relationship music. I was so happy.
Yes. That's like the perfect. I literally downloaded the album that the song is from after the movie stopped.
Okay, literally the second the movie was over, I went to Spotify because I was like, I need Belle and Sebastian.
Yes, right now, right here, right now.
Yes. Oh my God. Belle and Sebastian. So
yes,
just any movie with Belle and Sebastian, just Belle's.
I love
like
it.
When he starts talking about it, it's like, oh, I love this movie so much.
and then they start to dance. Like, he gets Leo to dance, and of course Leo doesn't want to dance
because he's like, I don't. He's like, I guess it's like a subconsciousness thing.
Yeah, he's just really hesitant about it
because Gabrielle is like, your hands are dancing already, because he's like tapping,
he's tapping, which is the melody out.
Because like I was watching and I had to keep pressing things, and I was still like trying to tap out because you can't not do that.
Oh, I do it all the time. My fingers move, my head moves, my feet moves, my leg moves if I'm sitting and listening to music. Yeah,
you
all
can't,
the time.
It's like it is. What's the word?
And then oh God, I wish I could remember the exact quote, but about feet. All you have to do is move your feet, and then you'll be free, or something like that. Because Gabrielle says it first. Gabrielle says it, and then I think Leo says it again to him at the party, or Gabrielle says it again to Leo at the party. I'm not sure, but it's really important and I can't remember.
And I was like, I'm going to go find time codes to look at this. And I was like, we really would have to read all of the dialogue. So it feels a little silly to do that. But yeah, I'm trying to remember. But yeah, because I feel like the fact that I listened to all of the dialogue now, I'm like, I remember more of the pictures because I was so focused on watching the pictures closely. He does stand up and dance. I think, what does he say? Because I guess it is just like him being self-conscious about the way he looks, and so it doesn't. Which, that's what I feel like I realized at a young age. I was like, I don't need to see myself dance. That gives me the freedom to dance however I want to.
There you go.
But so then they dance to Belle and Sebastian, and it's very cute. Well, because the reason, and did we talk about this? Because he answers his phone, his ringtones are all classical music, and every time he answers his phone, he knows who it is because they're different ringtones. It's a different song.
Yeah.
Which is so cute.
So Gabrielle's like, I want to be in your phone. Okay. But if you put me in your phone, I want to be Belle and Sebastian.
Well, because what he does is he says, he like gets his phone out, I think, while they're sitting together, and calls Leo.
Yes.
So then he's like, I just wanted to know what my ringtone was.
Yeah, and it's
then he's
Bach.
Like, could you make it Belle and Sebastian?
Yeah, you're right.
It's just so cute.
It's adorable. It's freaking adorable. It's so wonderful.
Oh my God. This movie is like candy.
Yes, this, and I kept thinking about trying not to compare it to, but I kept thinking about something like Call Me by Your Name.
It is Butterflies Are Free meets Call Me by Your Name, basically entirely. Except for at least the age difference is not there.
Yeah. Oh my, Call Me by Your Name though. I'm not. This is maybe my observation, but Call Me by Your Name is like dripping with sex though.
It's like a lot more sexual.
So
yeah.
It's this like sex and longing and like, and I get that, and that's fine, and that's that didn't make me like that movie less. Like I'm fine with that, but this is so much more on the complete opposite spectrum of things.
It's a lot more tame. Like well, because they are kids. Like after we have them dancing, we kind of.
But it's sorry. No, it's okay. I'm just trying to form that thought better in my head. It's different than Call Me by Your Name because whereas Call Me by Your Name is more sexual and more about desire and love too. Like Elio loves Oliver in the film, but this is more about, whereas The Way He Looks is more about it's not necessarily about like sex or like the physical aspect of
like just little bits
little bits of physicality, definitely.
But it is like more because also they're like, well, because I guess like the valid critique of Call Me by Your Name is the big age difference, but like if they're both like 16, then it's gonna be a lot tamer anyway, like no matter what. But also also it means that it's less problematic too because there isn't an age difference between them. Like it feels very appropriate like for their age, and the difference makes it also feel more appropriate, but I think because of that, that's why it's a little bit more tame. But yeah, I'm not sure exactly how old they are in high school, which I mean I guess it doesn't necessarily have to matter, but it is because they are both young, I think.
Yeah, well, and
tamer.
And I guess Call Me by Your Name is also kind of a coming out story too, whereas I really don't feel like this film it's not about coming out. These characters are gay. I'm pretty sure that Gabrielle, when he moves to town, knows he's gay. Knows that Gabrielle himself is gay. And
well, because I think it's the time periods too. Even though technically Call Me by Your Name, the movie came out after this movie came out, there's still this one's set in the present day, and Call Me by Your Name is set in the 80s. Yeah. So I think that also like makes it so that his coming out is just not as important. When I was in high school, you still had to come out, but it was also like becoming more of like a thing that it wasn't as big a deal for a lot of people. It was kind of varied. I think now it's even easier to come out. Obviously there's a lot of variation in that, and it depends on where you live, and obviously what if religion and all these different
Right,
things, but
right.
like, but I think it is, you know, it's definitely easier in the 80s for the vast majority of like children.
Yeah, and I don't mean to like compare everything to Call Me by Your Name. That's just
No, but it is-
It's just the movie that popped up in
It's
my
a
head
very
when I was watching this.
It's a natural comparison, and Sufjan Stevens and Belle and Sebastian have a similarly.
Oh my god,
just,
they
like,
totally do.
emotionally charging for me.
Side note: Call Me by Your Name absolutely destroyed me, though.
Like sadness, ones.
Sobbing. I mean, just sobbing. It's so wonderful.
Yeah, I really love that movie.
I loved it too. But
You know how
Yeah.
to, these movies know how to hit,
yeah.
But this one, it's happier.
It's so happy. It's so happy. And it's so funny because this is a total 180 from last week's episode. I mean, there's so many things I loved about this movie. I know.
Yeah. I was like, there's so many things to appreciate.
This goes into my like little sweet category of movies like this and Once and oh my god, something like even Ever After. Just
this is like
I'm just not I don't do love stories. I'm just not a very relationship love story. I'm just like
right. But this hits those. I do love stories that they have to be. I mean, granted, they have to be between two guys for me to like really want to watch them that much. So that is.
I really could give a fuck about a straight romance.
Yeah, that's not that. I mean, I don't think I have a single movie that's a straight romance that I love watching. There's probably a decent amount that are.
Not to say that I don't love Ever After, because I absolutely do love Ever After, and it's a straight romance, but still, yeah.
Yeah. But so then we have them like movies, Belle and Sebastian, very adorable, and like the last one is they go on like Gabrielle is like, there's an eclipse, or not. It is an eclipse. I was gonna say it's a meteor shower, but no, it is an eclipse.
Mm-hmm.
And we should go. My dad said we should go see it tonight. It's at 1 a.m. And he was like, first of all, can't see anything.
Why would I want to go do that?
Mm-hmm. And then second of all, I have a strict curfew and can't be out that late.
So Gabrielle's solution: sneak out.
Yes. Which, I mean, I know my mom's gonna listen to this, but still very relatable to high school. I'm sorry, Mom. But so they like go. Oh, he's on the back of a bike, which when I was in high school, it was a motorcycle, so that was a lot worse. But Gabrielle's like rides a bike and picks him up and is just like, just stand on the back of the bike and like ride with me, which I guess Leo's not done, though. That's technically something that he could have done with someone who rode a bike.
Sure, yeah. Well, for someone who's never done it before, he's pretty damn good at it.
Well, because he's at least just like standing, but it still seems kind of scary to do that. Because he's like standing on it.
I would never do that. I would tandem bicycle, sure, but no.
Right, no, because it's like a normal bike and he has to stand on the wheels. It does look very terrifying, but then they're like in a like up, I don't know, in some like kind of like. It did remind me so much of high school. Oh my god. This is like very much a thing that would happen to me in high school. It was very weird watching it. So
they go to a park or a hilltop to watch the eclipse, and obviously Leo can't see anything.
So he like describes.
Yeah. So Gabrielle is trying to describe the eclipse, Leo's kind of, sort of, but not really getting it. So Gabrielle grabs some rocks that's brilliant. It was to show him what the eclipse is and how it's working. And he talks about the sun hitting the side of your face, and he touches Leo's face, and I'm just like, it's just a really sweet scene. And it's kind of like, it's not about the event, it's about the person you're sharing it with.
Right. And just like, and how he is both like, and I just love that combination of how he's like, Gabrielle's always making mistakes on like him being blind, but then being like, well, who cares? Like, you can still do this stuff. That's not gonna that shouldn't disqualify you from doing these things. And like, also, I'm willing to change how I do them because that's like that would be more fun than like, and kind of I think there's also like a joy in that, and I love how this is like really captures that like just excitement about getting to learn and getting to do things differently, and that creative problem solving that I think can be so fun. Like, and if someone is doing that with you, it's just like the most like heartwarming thing. It's so sweet. I think also the fact that all the things they do are literally what like exactly what I would do in high school for courtship. Like that was like to a T. I just listen to Belle and Sebastian. I would go watch like meteor showers or something on hills in the middle of the night, and then I would like also always be seeing movies. Like, so it's just like literally exactly what dating in high school was like for me. And it was just way cuter than it actually was. And so I was like, oh, it's like rewriting history to be better. But so great. But they're still like not, they're like, Leo at this point we know is like into Gabrielle.
Totally. But he's not sure if Gabrielle is into him.
Which, like, I don't know. Did you think that he was like it did? I mean, obviously it's a movie, so you kind of have to be like, well, it seems like he's into him.
You know, obviously these two are going to end up together at the end, so it's like
it is one of those things where watching the movie, it was like in that position when I mean, I think I would question because I'd always doubt myself, but he also seemed very obviously into Leo. But I think sometimes it's also easier to tell when someone's into, like, it's the hardest to tell if someone's into you. Like, I can always tell people are into each other from a third perspective, like a bird's eye view of the situation. It's very easy to tell, but then I will always be more confused when it's relating to me because that's a lot harder. So I don't know. That's probably part of it.
Gabrielle didn't see spending time with Leo and doing the assignment as a chore.
Yeah. I mean, he was obviously having fun.
Yeah, he wanted to be there. He was glad to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the one who was usually walking Leo home.
Yeah.
Much to G's dismay.
Right, she's not happy.
Yeah. He's walking Leo home. He's spending, they're spending a lot of time together. He's helping Leo put sunscreen on.
Oh my God, that's like later on.
Kind of like, that is a little later on, but it's just maybe as like a tiny bit of an excuse to like touch him.
Yeah. Is that a thing in Call Me By Your Name too? No, it's not that. It's easy to compare these two movies also. Yeah. But yeah, so that's later on. Do we have to do something in between? I'm trying to remember.
Well,
I think there's a few plot points.
Yeah,
the
Leo,
party is in between.
The party is in between, and Leo talks to his parents about the exchange trip, and they turn him down.
Right.
Of as kind of expected.
They don't happen. Do they put like a full stop, or they like, we do not think this is a good idea without fully confirming?
His mother does.
Okay,
his father is a little bit more open to the idea,
which is why there's some room to potentially convince them. But
but his mom is like, no, full stop, you're not going. Yeah. Right.
So that's, and then at this time we start seeing that Gabrielle, there's another girl. Oh, is there something else you were saying?
Katerina. But Gabrielle leaves his hoodie over at Leo's house after the eclipse. And so you get that, like, Leo's into Gabrielle because you get this whole scene.
This is like maybe the like gay romance version of like face touching. I swear it's like in everything. Like this is like a Brokeback Mountain. You got that. Definitely Call Me By Your Name.
Oh my
has
word!
That.
Oh my God! Call Me By Your Name has probably the craziest one.
It's just, it really is the face touching.
You'll never eat a peach the same way again.
Oh my God! But we do have both of the. We do have some face touching. It's done. They're both done tastefully, but they are the two tropes of the two different genres.
I mean, obviously. So Leo spends a wonderful night in his bed wearing Gabrielle's hoodie.
Is it because if you like wear the same clothes, which granted, like this is a thing that I would always do with people, but that's like maybe has more to do with gender identity. Is like I would always want to wear boyfriend's
it's his
clothes.
Smell.
Right,
it's the smell.
Why is that? But it is definitely a trope in specifically like gay male romances. You don't see that in other than like straight romance.
Well, I would say that it's not. I don't think it's just a trope for gay male romance. I mean, you have the whole you know you see girls in romantic comedies like wearing the guy's t-shirts or or whatever.
It's less tropey though. It happens occasionally, and you might have occasionally have a plot point, but there's literally no movie with like two guys where there isn't something about smelling clothes. It's like very specific. I don't fully know why, but I don't know.
Humans. I mean, if you want to break it down, like we're animals. We produce pheromones.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, I wonder if it's like you wear the same clothes and that's part of it.
You are closer to someone. You're intimately closer to someone because you're wearing their clothes. I mean, I can't wear your skin.
Right.
But I can, if I liked you, maybe I would wear your jacket or your shirt.
Right.
Or,
yeah, that is like if you're at a prom in a straight romance, then you'll wear the guy's jacket. Like that is a trope. So, okay, that's the one time we have like a girl trope. But it's usually like a guy's jacket, whereas I feel like there's something specifically about smelling clothes that always I don't know. I have no idea. Should look this up to see if I'm just imagining this, but I feel like it happens too often for it not to be a trope because it's like... so consistently in movies, and it really is the face touching of like gay romance, but whatever.
I'm still rather new to LGBTQ romance, so I don't think I am a connoisseur. Say that. I don't think I can say like, oh, this is a thing. So I'll take your word for it.
I took a queer cinema class in college, and I was like, I don't know if we're gonna get to see any new movies for me. So I've been a queer cinema
I love it.
Scholar my whole life.
Yeah, the book club that I'm in with my friends, we're making it a point to read more LGBTQ books, romances, because we all talked about like what do we want to read? What do we want? What do we want to read? And I'm like, well, I'm really not a romantic person. I don't enjoy romance books. However, I would like to read more LGBTQ characters,
Give me some good titles, because I will only read fiction if it's like gay romance.
Well, okay, I gave you Carry On.
Yeah,
last
I'm reading
week.
it.
Oh, what do you think?
I've just started. I've been reading it like as I'm going to bed. I need to figure out time in the day to read it so I can get a little bit farther into it. But I'm excited to read more because I'm only a few chapters in. But yeah.
I'll have to
just give me more.
I'll have to give you more. I'll get you in contact with Stephanie. Like, she's the expert.
Okay, good.
She loves that. Those are like her favorite books.
Those are the only fiction I read. Truly. But yeah, I was reading Call Me by Your Name. I'm almost done with it.
Oh, I read that.
So sad
I read that last year. Yeah. I kind of blew through that one. It's good. It's a really good book.
Yeah. Oh my God. I did like when I was younger, like the short story that was Brokeback Mountain. I was like, I hate reading so much, but I'm gonna read this. I'm gonna do it.
My God, my mom had to watch Brokeback Mountain first before she'd let me watch it, and that hadn't been done in our family since The Mask, which is she had to watch first, and then she let us watch it.
My mom probably would have made that rule just by dint if she was going to watch it in the theaters. But
like Titanic, well, I can't say that I didn't watch that myself. She watched it and then I watched it. So, but yeah, Brokeback Mountain was like, I really wanted to watch it very much, and yeah, she had to preview it to make sure.
Oh my God.
Make sure, there's no stuff in there.
I don't know. I mean, I had to preview it to make sure there was.
Oh my God. And she would never watch Call Me by Your Name. Never, ever.
What's the difference between that? Just because they don't die? No one dies?
No, there's like, the sex is a wee bit more explicit in Call Me by Your Name.
Is it? Because I mean,
you don't
know the sex scenes in both movies very well.
I haven't watched Brokeback in a while, but you don't see
when they're in the tent with the on Brokeback Mountain, it's pretty explicit.
That's about as explicit as it gets.
Oh, though this movie we had a little bit of like what? Okay, so the one thing, Brokeback Mountain brutally killed, not very positive to like what, again, I guess that's even before the 80s because it's in the 60s.
Yeah, well, and you obviously you couldn't have a gay romance. You couldn't be in love. It couldn't end happily. It has to be tragic.
And Call Me by Your Name, everyone was like, well, it's like now it's like you don't have to die. But they still, it's still sad in the end. It's not like it doesn't, it is a lot happier because no one has to die, but it's still, they don't just get together, which, what I loved about this movie is it's cute, they fall in love, and in the end, they get together.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's just like, we don't have to like, there doesn't have to be like, oh, one person is not able to come out, or like they're not able to be happy.
Right. They just get together.
Yeah, they just get together. They don't have to marry a woman.
Right. They fall for each other and they get together.
Yeah, yeah.
That's normal. It is what it is.
They're like teenagers, so like this is the time to figure out your sexuality, and they figure it out. Like, it's just so so good. But yeah, so then the party, we should probably talk about that, because that's like a big
the party. So
movie plot, everything.
Yes. So Leo's not going to go to this party that Gabrielle is DJing.
Well, because Gabrielle's been in, because it's what is her name? You said it earlier.
G? No, Katerina.
No, Katerina, who's the girl who, the one thing is they're probably a little bit meaner to Katerina than they should be, because she is just like, she's flirty, but like,
yeah, they're convinced that she and Gabrielle are like a thing.
Right. Well, they are convinced that she likes him, and the way that they treat that is probably not the most, like, you know, feminist thing, where they're like, she's a slut, like, why is she pursuing him? But it's like, well, you know, women are allowed to pursue someone. Just because she's not interested doesn't make, or just because he's not interested in her doesn't make her a bad person for pursuing someone. But they kind of like are judgy. So that's the one weird sexist thing in the movie. But I mean, it probably is true of high school, so I guess it's also real, you know. But so she has a party, and this is when Leo is like, really, it's after the like hoodie scene, so he's like, we know that he is into Gabrielle. So when he finds out that he's gonna DJ her party, like, Leo's just like, just really freaking out about it, because it's like, oh, so he must like her, basically, because he's like also a new kid, so he's like meeting other people, and so like even platonically, like, I think there is that weird, like, it is very believable that if you're a new person, you're like, yeah, but we don't know you as a community well enough. And so like, he is a very like personable person, and especially like someone who is like very personable, like, if you're into them and they seem to be very like especially attentive to you and nice to you, you're still like, part of you is always like, but is this just how they're like with everyone, and I'm just only seeing their interactions with me? You know. And so then when they're like going to someone else's party and DJing it, you're like, oh, is something going on there that I'm just like, just not even related to, and that person's actually interested in them. So that like what felt like a very real conflict, whereas he's just like, oh, I'm meeting new people, I'm just gonna go DJ this party. And I think maybe also just kind of like, I think there is some motivation of like trying to keep a little bit of like plausible deniability, because like all the characters are like, don't want to be rejected. That's the whole movie. So I think for Gabrielle, the like kind of having a situation that if like he finds out that Leo is not into it, like having something that kind of makes it seem like he's not like that he can just kind of step away, because, you know, like kind of in how Leo doesn't want to come out and say anything, like that's kind of his way of dealing with the fact that it's like, oh, if I like pay attention to a girl, then I can always like, if Leo's just so not into this, I find out, then I can just be like, okay, well, there's a girl that I'm friends with. Like, it's like kind of like that ability to kind of switch between being interested depending on how interested Leo turns out to be. I don't know. But yeah, so he goes to the party.
Yeah, and at this point, G is still pissy and mad at him, and she won't return his calls, and Gabrielle is trying to be the bridge between them.
Because there is, like, they're sitting and they're waiting, because she gets mad that they are not, that they did something else without her, I think, or...
Right, yeah.
And so she's really upset and doesn't, and they're waiting for her after school, because I think it said they didn't wait for her after school one day, and then
and she blows past them,
right. And so, and the thing is that like, and there's a few different moments of this where Leo has no idea that this is happening, so Gabrielle has to be the one to tell him that it's going on, because it's not something that he would be able to tell, because she's always very quiet. So I thought that's really interesting, because it's like he has that, like, Gabrielle has the ability has to kind of like translate, you know, in a way, which I don't know, is kind of like, it's cute also, because it's just like he is you know, doing it kind of as it's kind of like if you're bilingual and the person that you're dating only speaks one language, he's like needing to translate the situation, but that he's not like using that power in a way that's like problematic, like that he's telling Leo what's going on, but still he needs to be there, so when Leo's alone he doesn't have that same ability to know what's going on. So I just found that kind of interesting, because there is a scene where Leo does not, where Gabrielle's not there, and then she is just ignoring him, like when they're going to the trip, and so he doesn't have any way of knowing that she's doing that because he doesn't have like a translator there.
Well, and at the party, Gabrielle tries to get Leo to dance by playing their song, the Belle and Sebastian song, and it kind of works. It almost works, and then Gabrielle is taken away by somebody else. That's where he finds G at the party, right? And they have their talk, and they end up. G gets drunk, and they end up going to the bathroom together to He goes to the bathroom to take care of her, right? And that's when they finally have their heart to heart. Like, oh no, you're not actually into me, and you're not mad at me, and you're not into her, and it all kind of comes out.
Right. And that's when Gabrielle's like, you gotta talk to Leo. Like, what does he say during that scene? There's something like specific about how she needs to like communicate with him. I mean, but I think like he's right. Like, if you're a blind person and your friend is just ignoring you, that's like, you gotta just talk to them. Like, you gotta communicate, you gotta use your words. Like, they're not gonna be able to really like, you're not privy to that. And I think like that is, you just, I don't know, you really like, it makes you even more endeared to Gabrielle's character of like being kind of feeling like, okay, well, I'm in a position where I feel like this is kind of my responsibility right now because it's not something that Leo's able to take the initiative on, and it's also like not a fair thing to him either. So like having the ability to like do that translating and making that also a priority, like, especially because like she wants to like be with them, and that could also go against potentially Gabrielle's intentions of wanting to be with Leo, and so like having that kind of just, but still feeling an obligation to it, to kind of make sure that they're friends again, which it's like, I don't know, it's nice when you have like a person in a movie, in a relationship, where it's like, oh, you have like a very healthy like way of like thinking about like people and like what is going to be the best, because obviously like making it, like even not addressing a rift between a significant other and their friend is like kind of controlling. Like, it's not 100% your responsibility, but still it's like a very good thing to do, to take that as a responsibility, because you don't want to like isolate someone from their friends. Like, that's not a healthy relationship. So like, just kind of seeing him actually also actively trying to mend that relationship is just very sweet. Like, I always appreciate that, because it's like a very healthy thing.
And this isn't a movie about people who are in a love triangle and it's one or the other. It's, you can have me and lose her, or you can have her and lose me. He is the bridge. He's trying to bring them together, because I mean, I think he also knows that like he's the new person in all of this. He shouldn't be the one. These guys have been friends for a long time. He shouldn't be the one, whether they are romantically involved or not, to tear them apart. Right.
And that he feels kind of an obligation to, like, that he kind of feels like even if it was unintentional, that he was the one who kind of created this riff, and so that he has an obligation to, like, fix it because he unintentionally caused it. But yeah.
Luckily they do, because when they come out, a game of spin the bottle has been going on at the party.
Right.
And Leo was about to have to kiss a dog.
Right, because the bullies are there, and he's like, the whole time is like, I don't want to please spin the bottle. And you're just like, oh, God.
Yeah.
It sucks, because it's like, not, it's one of those like problematic high school things where he doesn't really have the choice, because he's just like, you have to play, and it's like obviously a bullying thing, and he knows that, but he's like, he just has to. But then, so he's about to kiss the dog instead of they, like, make it the attractive girl. And so she sees that this is happening. It's like, Leo, we gotta go.
Yeah.
And, like, pulls him away and doesn't tell him at the time, like, why she did it. And he's like, you don't let me kiss the girl that I was gonna be kissing.
Yeah,
you don't let me kiss anyone.
Yeah, what is wrong with you? Yeah.
And then she, I think, gets mad at him for being mad at her, basically.
And blows him off.
Yeah,
basically. Yeah, and so poor Leo is so confused. Like, what?
Right, it's like, what the fuck just happened?
And then, of course, this is so helpful at this time. Friggin' Gabrielle walks up and kisses him anyway.
Well, he's like, because Leo's like, you get to, or oh god, what does he say? Like, everyone gets to kiss each other. I don't get to kiss anyone. And then Gabrielle just kisses him, and it's like, and then just like what, and then it just goes away. And like, and Leo's like, oh, what just happened?
What? Yeah, exactly. What is going on? What is going on?
And then the next scene, basically, because it's the next morning, we have them getting ready to go to the trip. We have she is like. Also, like, it's just Leo and she at the end are the two people that are not on the bus that are still there. And so she just walks away because Leo's waiting for she.
Oh my God, that was heartbreaking because I couldn't tell who that person, because they're out of focus because we're looking at Leo. And I couldn't tell who that person is. And then as the camera was focusing, I was like, oh my God, I bet you that's G.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. She just walks past him. I'm like, oh my God, that's devastating.
It's so sad.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot of her, like, using her vision. It's interesting, like using her ability to see and to be mad at him. It didn't feel exploitative in the way sometimes that feels, though. I mean, it does, but it also, like, it felt like they're both kind of just, he's ignoring her, so in a way, like, she's also just ignoring him. Like, it didn't feel like you're taking advantage of his blindness. But it doesn't feel good that she does all of that.
Yeah, no. I mean, nobody wants that.
Right.
No.
But it doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like oppressive, and sometimes those kinds of things can feel. It feels more like they're both, you know, like, because there's a lot of conflict that are just like both people are being kind of dumb. Like, and that it's not like one person is specifically using power to, like, be shitty to someone. Like, that is a different thing than just two people are kind of being, like, you know, not super great at communicating or being present for each other. And it felt more equal in their fight. Like, it felt like they both were not prioritizing each other. And in a way, she was prioritizing Leo in a lot of ways, but it was just to, like, it was more prioritizing being mad at him. But she was the one who's dealing with, like, seeing him all the time, whereas I think there's a plausible deniability that gave Leo, so it felt like they were much more on equal footing in a way, because, like, he didn't always know that she was behaving that way. And so in some ways that's probably to his advantage, where she was constantly watching him and being frustrated, and sometimes just, like, being very aware of someone that you're mad at is more exhausting than, like, if you're just not aware that they're there. But then sometimes it depends on the situation. Like, when you're waiting for them, then it's, like, way more annoying to not know that they're there when they are there. But in that scene, she leaves, doesn't say anything to him, and then he goes, and then the teacher comes and is like, Leo, you're the only one who hasn't gone on the bus yet. And he goes on the bus, and then they're like, oh, we're still missing two people, and it's Gabrielle and Catalina. Is that right?
Yeah, Carolina. I think. Yeah.
Carolina.
Yeah.
Because, and then everyone's like, ooh.
Or did I say Carolina? Katerina?
I think isn't it Catalina?
Yeah, there's a T in there, I think.
Katerina.
Yeah. We're going to go with Katerina.
Yeah. Yeah. So then everyone's like, wow, because they came in together.
Yeah. Ooh, they must be a thing. Ooh.
And then Leo's
drama.
And then Leo's just really sad.
yes, he is. He's just really sad.
And especially because, like, he just was kissed, so it was like, what's going on? But then at the during the trip, everyone's, like, in groups, and Leo's all alone, and Gabrielle and Catalina are together, I think, or are they? I don't remember.
Yeah, they are, but they're talking, and we're not sure what they're doing, because everybody's like, they're making out. I heard they were making out,
right?
But they're not.
They're
They are literally just talking, and then
that's even later too. The first scene is just when they're like in different groups, and that's when Gabrielle says to Leo, like, they are alone for a second, and he's like, oh, I was so drunk at the party, I don't remember anything.
Right. Okay, yes, now I'm with you. Yeah, exactly. And I'm thinking Leo is pretty upset and kind of blindsided by that.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, Gabrielle, they weren't drunk. Neither of them were drunk, and Gabrielle kissed him. So
Right. So now he's just like
hurt. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not like, I mean, I think in that kind of, that whole thing in reaction does feel especially like him kind of hedging his bets a little bit, of like not being interested in Katerina, but wanting to seem like he is, just so that he doesn't, so his pride is maintained if Leo's not interested. I mean, and that's kind of what he says later on in the movie that he was doing. But like, but yeah, so then we have there's like, and they had the pool next, and that's when he's like Gabrielle's trying to put sunscreen on Leo.
Yeah,
it's very cute.
Yes, and then we get the shower scene.
Yes,
very interesting. It's kind of, yeah. So Leo doesn't want to shower with everybody because, he doesn't want to shower with everybody. Okay, whatever. So he waits till people are done. So it's just him and Gabrielle. So they go to the shower, and Leo's really reluctant about, showering with him. I mean, I'd be nervous too. Yeah. Well, I read it as not only showering with someone else, but showering with someone you have a total crush on.
Well, it feels like Gabrielle is more nervous about it. I don't know. Well, I think, he doesn't want to, Leo doesn't want to take his boxers off. Well, I love that this is, you have both of them, being already interested in each other, but just the blindness and being naked, just the perspective taking you have to take in that scene, I think is really fascinating.
Yeah, well, and it's still very vulnerable. I mean, we kind of see,
well, because also you, blind person, you can't see but you can be seen, and so taking off your clothes, it's it feels more you feel more exposed, obviously.
Yeah, well, and you can't tell if someone is staring at you or not,
right?
And that's that you can, a person who is sighted can have power over somebody who might not be able to see.
Right, but then
there's power in that situation, I guess.
But then the other thing is that, with Gabrielle, he can see, and so he gets a boner and has to leave.
Because you see the way that Gabrielle looks at Leo. Yeah, we get the slow camera pan, down all of Leo's back, and yeah. But I love that the perspective taking of both of the characters you have to think about in that moment of they're going to be they're both nervous about it, but kind of in completely different ways, and the fact that the difference between a shower and not a shower, if you can't see, there's no difference about being naked necessarily, unless you are touching each other, but just it is funny because it's you would get a boner from looking at someone potentially, but not just from hearing them normally, you would normally, which is very funny. But yeah, but at that point you kind of it's obvious they both like each other. Yeah. It's kind of just the fact that the characters, but I mean, I think in a way both characters, by watching the movie that they both like each other, but it's because, but neither of them know it. And for different reasons, we're seeing Leo when he's at home without Gabrielle, and we're seeing Gabrielle do visually in a way that Leo can't. And so there is and even actually we don't have any scenes with Gabrielle alone, I think. Well, the party, but he's with G. I mean, right. there are no scenes when he is completely by himself.
Right. Whereas we have a lot of Leo, in kind of every area of his life, we get to see him so we have like, but he doesn't get to see everything that he's interacting with. So there is like a really kind of cool dramatic irony of it all, that like we throughout the movie have much more window into how the characters are feeling than the characters do, which I really like that kind of way of framing it. And then you don't have to like, you're not in that anxiety of do they like each other. Like it makes it even more fun to watch because you're just like, it's just so sweet. You understand why they don't know.
Right. There wasn't no will they, won't they, will they, won't they.
Right.
Or there wasn't any like you insulted me and so I don't like you anymore, but clearly you guys are going to be together. You know,
right. You know, it's like the entire movie, you know that they didn't like each other.
They didn't hate each other.
Right. There's
obviously they hate each other. They're going to end up together.
Right. Yeah. Right. So then after that we have the kind of like later on in the party, and this is when we have all the stuff with Katerina and Gabrielle just kind of like wandering off, and like because G is also there, and so Gabrielle's trying to get G and Leo to talk to each other, and succeeds by the end of the party to get them to like become friends again.
Yeah.
So, but because he has been, which we don't actually know that this is it in the end. Like this is the one time where you're like, is Gabrielle really like interested in her? Because like from the movie's perspective, because this is also when Leo is the most questioning of all of it, and so from the movie you question it the most because it is so much from his perspective. But like to get G and Leo alone, Gabrielle basically has to just like peace out and like with Katerina, so it like confuses Leo.
But exactly. And Gabrielle knows that like Leo and G need to patch whatever rift has come between them.
Right.
That's more important.
And that they can't they're not going to do that with him being ever present.
Right.
And that's also when Leo tells G that he is interested in Gabrielle.
Right. I think I love Gabrielle. Yeah.
And she freaks out and then is over it afterwards. But I can't remember how long she freaks out for.
Not long. I don't remember.
I think she was like,
it can't be that long because this kind of sort of all leads into the very last scene of the movie.
Yeah. Where she, like, she's already friends with him, but he gets sick and has to go home.
Right, because they swam at night, so he gets a cold.
Yeah.
So he's sick and
it's
has to
so funny
stay.
that he's sick, and I was like, with the real sickness going around here, I'm like, you just have like a sneeze.
Yeah.
It's not really sick.
But he, so Leo stays home because he's sick, and G visits him at his house. And they patch things up more. That's where they and that is where he tells her that he loves Gabrielle.
Well, no, it's
no, you're right.
Trip that
you're right.
He tells her.
You're right.
But that is when she says, "You don't know that he's interested in Katerina." Like, because I think at that point Leo is like, Gabrielle's not interested in me, and she's like, I don't know, you should talk to him because that's not necessarily true. But I don't remember if does she have like a specific reason other than like you never know.
I don't think so. Then again, I might have missed it in the text.
Right. So. Which having that read made it a little bit easier in some places to follow.
I absorbed maybe about 50 to 60% of what people were saying.
Did you watch it all in one sitting?
I did.
So the second half was a lot harder to read then, because I know that always happens to me.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I have to like figure out exactly what settings I made to tell you. We'll have to like do this movie again, just like we'll both watch it a bunch of times again.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she is like, you should go. You shouldn't be so sure that he's not into you, too.
Right.
And then the last scene is.
Oh,
is it?
No, because we had to talk about the kiss before the very last scene.
Sorry, I forgot that wasn't the last scene. Right. I forgot about the last scene.
Yeah, I completely jumped that one too.
But what I thought was the last scene, but is actually, you're right, the second to last scene, is when Gabrielle comes to Leo's room while he's sick as well.
Yes.
And is it to like pick up his hoodie or something? Why is he there?
I don't remember, but he's there.
Yeah. To give an assignment. I don't know. But but at that point, I think like Leo's starting to like, oh, maybe he's showing up at my house. Like, but he's like, why were you talking to Katerina at the party, and why did you abandon me? Or not the party, I mean at the trip, and like, why did you abandon me? And then Gabrielle has this whole speech about like how he what happened was that he was like trying to get G and Leo to patch things up, and he wanted to like leave them alone, and so Katerina wanted to be with him, and she tried to kiss him, and then he like turned away. We might actually see that, but it's small enough, like the kiss thing, but it's small enough I couldn't fully see what's happening. But then because Leo sees him again at the party or at the pool, and Katerina's like very into him, but you don't really get a good sense of how Gabrielle's feeling. But he's like, Leo, come into the pool, and so Gabrielle's like, yeah, so she tried to kiss me. I made up a fake girlfriend.
Right.
And then she told me all about her ex-boyfriends. And then she kept telling me about her ex-boyfriends. So I kept having to make up more stories about my fake girlfriend. And then she told us that she wanted to go to the pool. So then we were at the pool. And he was like drunk at that night. They were like drinking. So Leo is like, Gabrielle was drinking, and so he was like, you were so drunk you blacked out and couldn't remember that we kissed at the party, but you could remember all the details of this when you had been drinking more than you were at the party. And then he's like, well, maybe I lied about that. Maybe like I like but does he say I like someone else at that point? Oh yeah, well this was when I was still able to like do the subtitle thing, so you might have like been missing a lot of this because it is really hard to like, there's a lot of talking, but basically he was like, I don't like Katerina because I like someone else, and he says something about how like I may have lied to them and may have kissed them and then lied to them because about being too drunk to remember because I didn't think they were also interested. And then at that point, like obviously now they both know that they like each other, so Leo like stands up because he's like really like assuming that Gabrielle does not like him at the beginning of the scene, and so he like stands up and he says, Gabrielle says, if you stole a kiss from someone, how would you give it back, is the line.
Oh, yes.
And then they kiss.
And they do. Yeah. Yeah. And it's just finally.
And we have the face touching.
Oh, and yeah.
Which I approve this face touching.
Good. When I saw the face touching, I literally thought to myself, yeah, Sky's gonna be okay with this.
Yeah, this is the one that I approve. This is Sky approve, because it's like, first of all, they really know each other. Like it is not like, this is not a getting to know you thing, and it's also not like a thing that was mentioned at the beginning or anything. Like it's really just truly just like, I know you're interested in me. And part of it is also like he needs to do that because like Gabrielle's standing there and talking, but like Leo doesn't know exactly where he's standing, so he needs to just figure out where his face is. Like it actually is like he couldn't just kiss him. Like he would need to figure out where his face is. So it actually, instead of being like something that doesn't make sense, it's like, no, actually you would have to do that. Like that makes perfect sense, because you would need to know where his face is to be able to kiss him. And he kind of like, Gabrielle kind of like makes Leo lead with the kiss. So yeah, I approve this face touching. First time in this podcast.
It's so wonderful. It's so wonderful. So yes, so that we have a very sweet, very touching, honest moment between the two of them. And then we finally make it to the very last scene of the movie, which is everyone is leaving school, and G and Leo and Gabrielle are leaving school, and Leo and Gabrielle are sight guiding each other. Well, Gabrielle is sight guiding Leo, and G is walking beside them. And all along this has been happening. The bullies have been making fun of Gabrielle and Leo their sight guiding.
Right,
Oh, your boyfriends, why don't you marry him? Blah 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 blah. Stupid shitty things. And so Leo without
because they're like the relationship's really like in the last scene, like the relationship's really blossoming or something like that is what the bullies are saying.
Yeah. So without missing a beat, Leo, they stand outside the gate. I don't think they even turn to look at the bullies.
No, they don't.
No, and Leo just moves his hand down from Gabrielle's elbow to his hand, and they just squeeze. They hold hands and they walk off into the distance.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's as effective sight guided though.
No, probably not. No, they probably had to change like as soon as they got to the end of the block. But yeah. No, it's horrible sight guiding. That's not how you do it. But yeah,
it gets a pass for having a good sight guiding thing at the beginning.
But it was great. It was a really nice little way to end the movie.
And then it is kind of funny because the bullies are like laughing, but then the main bully, Fabio, right? Is like. He's not laughing. He's just like kind of doesn't know what to think about.
Yeah. He's just kind of what? Yeah.
But yeah, it's very cute because I think in like one of the earlier ones, like the first scene where they're sight guiding, like Leo like flips them off like behind him.
Yeah,
so it's a cute kind of like returning to that, but this time they're holding hands, and each time he doesn't look. I mean. He doesn't look back because, of course, he doesn't look back. Why would he need to do that?
Yeah, exactly.
And Gabrielle is just like, well, fuck them. So he doesn't look back because he has no patience for it from the beginning. So it is very cute. And that's the end of the movie. Very adorable.
Yay. Yeah, no, we said it multiple times. I adored this movie. I think the actor playing Leo did an amazing job. Good. Being blind. I mean, I was just convinced. I was absolutely convinced. I mean, the scene where he's teaching Gabrielle how to read Braille.
Oh yeah, we didn't even talk about that.
Yeah, no, that's I just remembered. No, that's a cute little scene, and it's just more touch.
Yeah, there's I mean, just the way they thought like through every single aspect of blindness, even in all of the different blockings, like the fact that the face touching actually made logical sense is very dope. Do we want to give our blindness acuity test?
Yeah.
Do you want to go first?
Sure. I mean, obviously, the movie gets a 2200 from me.
Do you want to go higher? You can do that.
I wasn't sure if I could go higher.
Oh, yeah. You can go as high as you want.
Okay, great. Well, then this will be a 2400 for sure.
Nice.
Then, yeah, absolutely. This is literally the best thing we've watched since we started doing this a couple of months ago. So, I was blown away just by how absolutely wonderful it is.
Yeah.
And this is something that I would love to show my parents. Maybe we'll get there one day. I don't know, but I will be recommending this to everybody. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes. And it's free. It's free on Canopy. All you need is a library card.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You just need a library card, and you can have access to this and thousands of other movies on Canopy. I didn't even begin to explore.
I know. There's so much. Yeah. This. I'm going to break my own thing. Because I'm trying to remember what happens if you don't have any vision. Do they even bother giving you one of those numbers?
Oh, God, I don't even know.
I realize I don't know.
Is the movie just blind?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's not just blind. It's like no vision.
which on here is a good thing.
yeah it is because that's only 10% of blind people, so kind of on the extreme end, but I'm gonna do that because I don't know if we're gonna get a better movie, so I figure might as well use
might as well. Yeah
I really love this. He did such a good job. I think that having 4 years maybe to really think through, because I think a lot of times when a sighted actor is playing a blind character, there's only so much time, and and I do think that you, even as a blind person, you learn to be more blind as time goes on, and you kind of think through how you can interact with the world and all these different aspects like that. And I think that being able to maybe live in that character for even longer, he does such a great job, and it is just so sweet, and you really you love all the characters, and it is it's not like I think like blind characters and like in gay romances are both like genres, I guess. I don't know if that's specifically, but they're both like, a lot of the movies are really depressing in a way that feels shitty. Like, it's just like, you know, it feels oppressive how like someone gets murdered or whatever, you know, like that it makes you feel bad.
You want it to end happily,
right?
as
you
it
want people,
should,
right? Because like you can have those happy endings, and that sometimes it's hard to say how much it just perpetuates like violence when all the depictions are violent, which I mean I guess is like all the exploitation genres of films kind of go on that thesis, but like. Yeah, but I do think that this, like, the fact that it's very grounded, very realistic, and just overall very happy, and, like, I think just watching a movie where you feel just better about even yourself afterwards.
Yeah, yourself and the world.
Like, it feels like you're being taken care of, like, the characters are taking care of each other.
I'm totally going to steal from a different podcast I was listening to, but movies are therapy.
They can be, yeah.
Yeah, they absolutely can be. Not all of them, but some of them. I mean, movies, I definitely think movies or going to the movies for me is that's just how I practice self-love. Like, it's just self-care, you know.
And there are like, I do think there are certain movies that are more are like more self-care therapy movies than others, and I think this is definitely one of those. Like, there's certain movies where just watching them is like just like a way, like it's kind of a form of self-care, and this is definitely one of those. And like even watching it again would be, and just that it has a happy ending. It's really, I mean, it seems like a very tiny thing, but it is like it also is a very big thing, because it's very hard to find those for either thing. And I now am a connoisseur of blind movies. I was always one of like gay romances, but now I'm becoming a connoisseur of blind movies for the first time.
There you go.
So now I can like speak to both of those. But yeah. So great. I'm gonna just say that it's blind, and we don't have to bother with the wall with the fucking E's and what side they're on or whatever the shit is.
Perfect. Well, it's all downhill from here, because next week it's my week.
Yes.
To pick the movies. Since we already watched one that your mom recommended to us, I'm gonna put forth one that my mom recommended to us, which is Ice Castles. This is the 1978 version, because there was a remake in 2010, but we're watching the original version about a champion figure skater who loses her vision and has to figure out how to adapt and do what she loves. Thank you.
I like how you said thank you. It sounded like you were like, thank you for listening to my explanation of the plot. Yes, and then maybe later we'll watch the 2010 if we just years from now, once we're ready to revisit the story. But I'm excited. I like our moms both picked movies from the 70s. Makes sense, probably mathematically. Yeah, it's not really that weird of a coincidence. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to that.
Me too.
This will be fun. And I guess that leads us into our last segment, which is the thing that we are getting excited about this week.
Yes. Who wants to go first?
I want you to go first.
Okay, cool. So mine's a movie. Nice. So I'm super duper late to the party on this one, but I finally had the time to watch Your Name.
Oh.
Have you seen this?
I don't think so, but I think I've heard a lot about it. When did it came out? Did it come out recently?
Yeah, a couple of years ago.
Okay, that's
so
what I thought,
fairly recently. So it beat out Spirited Away as the highest grossing movie ever in history in Japan.
Oh, okay.
So
I think I know about this.
Yeah. So Your Name tells the story of two people, Mitsuha and Taki. And I'm not going to spoil anything because this movie's amazing. But they are they're a guy and a girl. Taki, the boy, lives in Tokyo. And Mitsuha, the girl, lives in a tiny, tiny, tiny town far away from Tokyo in Japan. And they discover that they have the ability to switch bodies.
Ooh,
so
it's kind of like a Ramo and half.
Yeah, or like a little bit of Freaky Friday kind of. So Taki wakes up in Mitsuha's body, and Mitsuha wakes up in Taki's body, and it's also kind of a study on a Japanese gender culture.
Right. Well, that's like around 1/2 what I like about it too. I guess it's also about Japanese gender culture, as you do.
Yeah. But it's fantastic. The visuals are amazing. The animation is absolutely gorgeous. There's a little bit of an environmental message in there.
Just a little bit sprinkled.
A little sprinkle on top. Num num num. I don't want to say more because there's a moment in this movie that just will punch you in the gut, and it's amazing. And I just, my jaw hit the floor.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, I just couldn't stop saying like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. It's great.
Does it have a dub?
Yes, it does. So when I rented it off iTunes, it automatically gave me the English dubbed version, which is really good.
Okay, cool.
It's a decent dub. So
nice.
Yeah.
I'm like, people are like, oh, want to watch the original Japanese, and I'm like, yeah, well, not
nothing wrong with that. Yeah, nothing wrong with sub,
me,
but dub is
option.
easier.
Yeah.
So that's Your Name. I rented it on iTunes, but I'm sure obviously you can rent it from, if your library's open yet, you can rent it from your library or stream it on whatever platform you're using.
Do you know if it's available on streaming?
You
can't just stream anything, Melissa.
That's true. That's true. I'm just like, yeah, no.
Did you get Just Watch the app? I always use it.
Oh, damn it! I forgot.
Ice Castle is not streamable.
No, it's not. We're gonna have to rent it. No, Ice Castle is not streamable. Yeah. So, yes, Your Name is I streamed it on iTunes, which looks like the only place you can stream it at this point. But Your Name is fantastic. It's amazing. It's an amazing story. It is I don't want to say it's like a love story because it's not. It's a relationship story. It's a story about how people are connected. So Your Name, check it out.
Nice. Mine, I don't know. I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. This is not like a specifically this week, but I'm gonna recommend a podcast I really like called Punch Up the Jam. It's, I don't know, it's just been a very hard week, so just wanted to cope with something that's just kind of funny and not super serious, because that's kind of what I need right now. But it is a comedy podcast where there was 2 hosts. I don't know if the back catalog is still available online, but the 2 hosts were Miel Brady and Demi Adijuwibe. Demi left to go do other stuff, so now it's just Miel as the host of the podcast. But it is she just will take a song and break it down and talk about the song, like a popular song that's kind of silly, and then at the end do a punch up, so do a different version of the song that's quote unquote better, and it's just a lot of it's very silly and ridiculous, and making fun of popular songs that are might have kind of ridiculous lyrics and stuff, but it's I think all podcasts like that, they're like, well, we don't want to totally make fun of things, and I'm always like, no, you can make fun of whatever. Art is there to be made fun of.
It's comedy. Nothing is sacred.
Yeah, but it is, if you're sensitive to that. I guess they also do try to be kind to people. But I always like when they're mean. That's very personal to me. But I don't know, just it's a silly thing, and so that was what I thought to recommend, just because that's been what I've needed, and I'm very glad we watched the movie we did too, because it is nice and sweet and not just the world crumbling.
Yeah, this is definitely what I needed right now.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And you know what, the other thing blind related that I've thought about this year that's been just a nightmare, thing right after another, is I never wanted the year 2020 to be a good year, because the 2020 is the year of the sighted people, and I wanted them to suffer in their year.
Okay, whoa. I'm gonna separate myself from that statement.
I mean, I don't like when sighted people think that that's in beastly. If you're sighted, that doesn't mean you want to. If you're blind, you don't want to be sighted. That's not inherently the thing. And so I think the fact that I'll never live to be, to 2300, so I'm never going to get my year. I just will not be alive, so it's not going to happen. So I'm just happy that 2020 wasn't a really great year, because, I don't know, sighted people, they have everything that's, you know, compared to blind people, obviously intersectionality depends on the sighted person. But like, I don't know, I'm just happy it's not like a very good year.
Yeah, I'm gonna very much disagree with you
really
on that statement. Yep. Mm-hmm.
I mean that everything that's happening could have happened a different year. In my head, it's like this stuff is all gonna happen. It just had to be in a year. Like, it's not saying that I'm happy anything specifically happened. I'm just happy that this was the year it happened in. That, yeah. Not very specific to what year it happened in, but I don't know. I stand by it. I don't think anything that's going on is good, but I do think that I'm just glad that 2020 wasn't the best year ever, because I would just be mad. And then if 2021 was like when everything horrible happened, I'm just happy it's 2020, whatever. But yeah.
Well, yay. Catch us next week. We're watching Ice Castles.
Our theme song was by Lucia Fasano. Our Twitter is White Cane Pod. Our Instagram is Citizen White Cane. Our Facebook is @Citizen White Cane. If you'd like to send us an email, you can email us at citizenwhitecanepod, all one word, @gmail.com. And there is a link in the show notes if you want to leave us a voicemail. You can tell us if you were a gay blind teenager and a cute new student flirted with you in Sao Paulo, Brazil, if that ever happened to you. You can tell us what are some other things in the movie. If you
you can tell us if you've ever had to play spin the bottle and ended up kissing your friend's dog.
Yeah, you can tell us if you ever were kind of weird about a blind friend and then just kind of watched them and then didn't interact with them at all, or just that you love watching other gay movies like me and have a theory about the reason why everyone always smelling each other's clothes.
Oh, that's movies. Good. Yeah.
And if let us know.
Do you sniff clothes? We want to hear from you.
Yeah, that's important. Do you touch faces? Do you sniff clothes? Are you a blind gay man that does both all the time and we're just wrong?
Perfect.
Tell us all that. Send it in a voicemail. And if you want to let us know what movie we should watch or tell us how cool we are, you can leave that in a voicemail too. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe, and come back next week for the Ice Castles.
Yep.
Okay. Bye.
Citizen